Hi, it's Michael McDonald from Diary of a Gay Nerd again. I just wanted to talk about being homeless today. I was homeless twice in my life, well, in my childhood. I was homeless when I was 15 years old. My parents were, well, before that happened, we were living with my aunt in Simi Valley behind her, on the side of her house in a trailer. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and my parents and my aunt had, a disagreement. Let's just call it a disagreement. And my aunt asked us to leave. And I don't blame her. She had her reasons, and I'm not going to go into that. But we left. We eventually ended up in a trailer park called Castaic Trailer Park, and then we moved to another trailer park in Valencia called Travel Village. I was 15 years old, and I didn't realize it at the time, but my boyfriend had been sending me letters, and every time we would go to the P.O. box to pick up the mail, I would ask, did I get anything? Or I would ask if I got anything, and they would always tell me no. With the letter in their hand, they would tell me I didn't get anything. So one day when my mother was in the hospital, we were living in a travel village, and my stepfather said, okay, everybody get in the van, we're going to go visit your mom in the hospital. Well, every time we'd gone to the hospital, and my mom was in the hospital a lot because she fell down a flight of cement stairs when we lived in Reseda, and she had slipped a few discs in her back, and she was in bad shape. But every time we went to the hospital, I managed to get myself yelled at for no reason. One time I went to the bathroom, and I asked if I can use the bathroom, and my mom said in her room. She said, yeah. I'd go in the bathroom and push a button thinking it was the light switch, and it would call the nurse, and I'd get yelled at for that. So, stupid things. I told my aunt that, and she said, well, you shouldn't have been in that bathroom. Well, I was given permission. So whether I shouldn't have been in there it doesn't matter. I was given permission, and I got yelled at. And I was tired of getting yelled at every time we went to the hospital. So anyway, I said I didn't want to go. And, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. My stepfather threw a big hissy fit and started yelling and said to my older sister, I don't want to see him here when I get back. Make sure he's gone. And he told me to get out. I was 15 years old. So I got my stuff and went to a friend's trailer, a school friend's trailer, and told them what happened, and they said, well, we've got to find you a new place to live. And you can't go into a trailer park and ask all these people to live in their trailer. Trailers are small. My family's trailer had 5 people in it, and it was a small trailer. I couldn't imagine having a 6th person moving in. So eventually we found somebody. It was in a very tiny trailer with a guy that I went to school with. He was, I think, in the 11th or 12th grade, and his brother, who was older, probably in his 20s or 30s. So I lived with them for about 6 months, I guess, and my parents were forced to take me back. So I went back. That night that I was with them, I knew things were not changing. Things will never change. When you're living with an abusive family, they don't care about you. All they care about is you changing. They don't care about themselves changing. They want you to change. So, that was in my case. And I didn't see anything wrong with how I was, Again, I didn't know that they were reading the letters. So I was at the point where I was just like, you know what? I don't think I can take this. I grabbed a buck knife, which was quite similar to this. I opened it up, I pointed it at my stomach, and I said, I'm going to kill myself if I have to live with you people anymore. I held it up to my stomach. My sister talked me down. She got me to give her the knife. I finally gave her the knife, and I felt really bad because my younger sister was probably about 6 years old. She was standing there freaking out, and and my mom was freaking out. My stepdad wasn't there. So I handed my sister, the older sister, the knife, and I was right next to the door, so I just got out of there. I opened that door and I ran. I was gone all night long. The next morning, I woke up and there was a SWAT team looking for me. I was freaked out. So I didn't know what to do. I thought I was going to get arrested and go to jail. So I was just, I was thinking about what to do. So I just hid for a while, and for a few hours actually. Eventually they found me and put me in handcuffs, and the woman who was the mother of the two guys that I was living with, I asked her if she could please adopt me. I didn't want to live with my family anymore. She she said, I wish I could, sweetie, but I can't. So, oh well. So we went to the police station. They released me to my parents, and blah blah blah. Went to school the next day, and by the way, I was going to school this whole time. The whole 6 months I was in school. I didn't quit school. So the school counselors talked to me, and I just told them what I thought they should know, or what I thought they wanted to know, or what they wanted to hear. So that was when I was 15. 2 years later, I just turned 17, and my mother confronted me and asked me, "Are you gay?" And I thought, "Oh, this is awesome. Perfect timing. I can finally come out of the closet." So I said yes. I was so happy to finally come out of the closet. So I said, yes, I am. And she just started yelling at me. She tore into me. You're going to hell. I didn't I didn't give birth to 3 girls. I gave birth to a boy and 2 girls. And I don't have 3 daughters. I have a son and 2 daughters. And what else? She called me a faggot, believe it or not. And she said to me, do me a favor, don't ever have children. Don't ever adopt children. Because I wouldn't want to know that my grandson or granddaughter, whatever, is being beat up in school because they have 2 faggots for fathers. I mean, who says that to their kid? So, finally she stopped yelling at me. I think she was yelling at me for a good 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. I don't know. It's blurry to me, but it was a long time that she was yelling at me. She finally confessed to reading the letters for 2 years. And she says, do you want the next letter? And I said, yes. She said, only on one condition. You cannot write back to him. Really? I'm supposed to get another letter and just read it and then just, what? Throw it away? Are you kidding me? I'm going to write back to him. First of all, I got to tell him to stop writing. Second of all, I need closure on this. I've been waiting for 2 years for him to write to me, thinking that he had moved on and forgotten about me for 2 years. My heart has been broken. And here you're telling me that you have been reading the letters for two whole years? So she hands me the next letter, which was in a few days, or, a couple or few days. And I write him back, and I tell him what happened. I tell him about my parents reading the letters. I tell him about that I work at McDonald's on Sepulveda and Balboa, and that's where I worked at, in Sepulveda. So after he got his letter, he called me at home, or I think he called me at work, and I got his number down. He was deaf, so he had to call me with California Relay Service. So the California Relay Service called me at work at McDonald's, and my manager was telling me to get off the phone. So I got his phone number, and I called him when I came home from work, and we talked, and the next time I knew it, he was at my job. He had taken the bus from Simi Valley to Sepulveda to see me, and we were sitting in the dining room of my job for several hours. And I smoked at the time. I was 16 years old then, and I was smoking, or 17. I was smoking cigarettes. We were smoking cigarettes in the lobby, and we had smoked so many cigarettes that we filled up an ashtray, and then we filled up another ashtray. Their ashtrays were, you remember those aluminum foil ashtrays? They were small, but still, 2 ashtrays. So manager comes up and says, we don't let our customers loiter for this long, so you're going to have to leave. You guys are filling up all these ashtrays. And he grabs the ashtrays and takes them to the trash. So we left, and he realizes that he missed his bus. So I went back to work and asked one of my coworkers if he could spend the night at their house, and she said, yeah, sure, why not? So we walked to my house, and she lived just like a block away from me, so that's why I went to her. So we were going to her house, and he asked me if I could go in my house or apartment and get a pack of cigarettes for him, because he was out. And I thought, well, we better get you to my friend's house first. And he said, no, it'll be real quick. So I said, okay. I went into the apartment, grab a pack of cigarettes, and my mom knew that he was out there because I was late for work, several hours late for work. And I'm sorry, late coming home from work. So she yelled at me, and I told her, yeah, he's out there, and I'm taking him to a friend's apartment to spend the night because he missed his bus home. And she says, if you walk out that door, don't even think about coming back. You know what? If you give me an ultimatum, and your ultimatum depends on somebody not having a place to sleep for the night, I'm not going to choose you. I mean, this poor kid is waiting outside for me, and he's going to be sleeping on the sidewalk unless I take him to my friend's house. So, yeah, I'm not going to choose you. Sorry. And that's the way I feel about ultimatums. If you give me an ultimatum, I'm never going to choose you. I'm going to choose the other person. So she kicked me out. I walked out the door. And we went to the payphone to call his mom, and she told me, hand to God, and I don't believe in God, but hand to God, she told me, just tell him that he's homeless too. And I thought, wow, you parents, I just can't believe you. So I told him that, and the next morning he went home to Simi Valley, and he told his mom that I told him that, and she denied it. And of course, I became the most hated person on the planet. Um, I went back home to my family, and they wouldn't even let me in. I knocked on the door, and my older sister answered, and she said that I was to not allow you to come in the house. You were not allowed to have any of your things, and go away. So for he came back on the bus, and he met me at my work or at my job, and we were homeless for like 2 weeks, literally on the street, homeless. And we were both so afraid to go to sleep that we just stayed up every day, every night, all day, all night. So eventually we found a place to live, sleeping on one of my friends at school. School had started up again, and I went to school in the 12th grade. And one of my school friends offered me to that we could live in a station wagon on their lawn. So we moved into their station wagon, and we slept in the very back of the station wagon for probably a month. And one of my school friends lived in the house in one of the rooms, and she had gone back to her parents. And so we were allowed to move into the house in that room. And it's a long story, really. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it. We slept on couches for months and months and months until January, and then we moved to Simi Valley. He moved back in with his parents. I kind of insisted because, at least he can go back to school, get his education. And his mom put me in a Salvation Army homeless shelter in Simi Valley. I worked at Taco Bell, and then I worked at Wendy's, and the program, it was a program that only ran from like September to May. So was coming around, and they told me that you better find a place to live. They spoke to the ones of us that had jobs, so that we could continue to keep our jobs, and because we had the money that we could actually rent a room somewhere. So they had told me to look in the newspaper and find a room for rent. So I found one, and I went to the people's house, and I looked at the room, and it was a great house. It was a great room, and it was a American man who his father met a Vietnamese woman in the Vietnam War, and he brought her home from Vietnam, and they got married. And the father had a white son, and he lived in the house. He's the one. The son is the one who interviewed me for the room, and but the rest of the people in the house were the Vietnamese wife and her kids, and then there was another rental room for rent. So I moved in, and it was great. And my sister found me and asked if I would like to move in with her. And just about that time, I had found out that, or just before then, I had found out that the guy that I left my family for, not only had he broken up with me and cheated on me, or he cheated on me, then broke up with me. But he was taking all of my checks that I had earned at these fast food restaurants, and he was cashing them and spending the money. And so that was before I found the room for rent. And so I ended that party for him and started cashing my own checks. And I moved in with my family, and or well, my sister. And I'd slept on couches for the next couple of years, and I was living in motels. Just before I met my partner, I was living in an apartment in Los Angeles, but before that, I was living in a motel for a couple of years. And it sucks being homeless. It really does. When you're put out on the streets like that as a teenager, and you have no choice but to leave school because your parents basically tell the school all these lies about you, and I end up quitting school. I didn't graduate high school. It really makes it difficult for the rest of your life. I didn't have any credit, and I couldn't, life was just really hard for me. And I never had an apartment on my own. I mean, I did, but only because I was living with someone and moved in with them, and then they left, and I was still there, and the landlord let me stay. That's the only reason I was ever able to keep an apartment. And this is Flower. Flower wants to say hi. Flower is a toy chihuahua, and she's very spoiled, isn't she? Yes, she is. So anyway, being homeless really sucks, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And unfortunately, a lot of gay kids are out on the streets because their parents, don't approve. And I've said this several times, but it really sucks. And I've always wished that I had the money to build a homeless shelter for gay teenagers who have been kicked out on the streets because of their religious families. And that's, one of the reasons why I'm not religious, because I don't believe in something that would say that my kid is evil and that they shouldn't live with me. So being homeless is a tragedy that needs to end, for anyone, but, especially for teenagers who have no way of taking care of themselves. They don't have food, they don't have money, they don't have any way of supporting themselves, of getting off their on their feet. And Flower. And you're making me lose my concentration. Anyway, thank you for listening to my ramblings about being homeless. And if you get a chance, read my book for free on a Kindle and tell me what you think about it. And now, I gotta take her out. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and visit my website, diaryofagaynerd.com. Go to Facebook /diaryofagaynerd, Twitter @diaryofagaynerd, and I've actually got an Etsy shop just called Gay Nerd. So thanks for watching. Bye.